Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. From New York City, I've got Peter Bonney, and he's an entrepreneur, SaaS entrepreneur, and his first startup, Venderful, and he's launched a new B2B software company. We're going to hear all about what it does and how it helps clients. And today's talk is also going to be focusing on how Peter's leveraging AI in his SaaS entrepreneur startup company. I'm really happy to have him on and introduce him onto the show. So, Peter, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I've been working on the same set of business challenges now for the past almost 9 years, but with two different companies. I started Venderful with co-founder, and we were really interested in how businesses do these kind of complex transactions with each other, right? If you're a big company and you're looking to buy like a really expensive piece of enterprise-wide software, that's a hard challenge for you. And people always talk about the sales challenges associated with that, but buying it is a problem too. Like, how do you figure out what you want to buy? How do you compare all the different options out there? You've got to make a big decision and a big commitment without having full information. And so Venderful is really focused on helping buyers, helping big companies that are buying stuff, collect all the information they needed from suppliers, manage their suppliers, track all that kind of performance information to figure out, even after we've made a purchase, is it going the way we expected? Are our people happy with it? And then if not, what do we do? And how do we move forward from there? And that was very much focused, again, on the buy side of that problem, and grew that company, exited it a little while ago. Along the way, I'd always had this idea that I'd also like to try and address the other side of that equation, helping sellers respond to these lengthy questionnaires and provide all the information that buyers are looking for as part of that process. But when we first started Venderful, the technology wasn't quite there to do it the way we wanted to do it. Fast forward to the year 2023, which is when we started FastBreak, or 2024, and now we're in like the post LLM world. AI has undergone a major revolution, and a lot of the ideas that we had like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, now all of a sudden they're feasible. And it was time to focus on that side of the equation. And so I started FastBreak, and now I'm using AI to help people automate these business processes, respond better to buyer inquiries, speed up their time to revenue, and spend less time and less resources on these lengthy questionnaires they have to answer.
Yeah, really interesting. And so we'll talk about the top questions people would be asking in someone that's new to the search, and then they would be asking, what is B2B procurement software and why do businesses need it?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I said, like I don't want to say everyone. There's a lot of content out there about sales, right? And how do you sell to companies? If you got stuff to sell, you're an account executive. How do you find the right people to sell to? How do you prospect? How do you get their attention? How do you then like network and kind of multi-thread inside a company to get to the decision makers and so on? That's all very focused on the sale part, right? What do sellers do to try and close business? For all of those interactions, think about it in the opposite way, right? There is a buyer, a human being sitting on the other side talking to multiple salespeople, right? And a lot of times you're not just being sold to, like you actually have something you need to buy, right? And you've got budget you're going to spend, and you've got a problem to solve. And you probably want to go about doing that in a better way than just talking to the random salespeople that call you up, right? So structuring that process, making informed decisions, collecting information, really understanding both your existing suppliers, like who you're buying from today, who you might be buying from in the future, and whether you should make a change or adjust your mix of business that you're providing. That's the reason why businesses need software to manage it. Like you can do it by gut feel, but you're gonna have suboptimal decisions and things that work for a small business. Like in our company, we don't have procurement software. We're an early stage startup, FastBreak. And so whatever is the most expedient decision that has a reasonable price, that's what we're going to do. I don't really care if I have the very best, software for email or whatever. It's like Gmail works, it's fine. Does it cost that much? Great. Make the decision and move on. But if you are a 20,000 person company, right? Not a 20-person company, then the equation becomes very different. You really have to think very carefully about those decisions, your needs. Are you a 20,000 person company where everybody needs email? Or are you a 20,000 person company where you've got retail stores and a bunch of part time workers? And what are your specific business needs? And maybe your solution, the right solution for you, is not the same as the right solution for the 20,000 person company down the road. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
yeah. And how does Venderful and FastBreak differ from other procurement platforms?
Yeah, Vendorful, we always differentiate ourselves by being like we're very focused on the relationship aspect of this. So there for your audience that may not be familiar with procurement, there's a lot of focus in the procurement world on cost savings. Rightly, their job is to make sure that they're getting the best price for things and not spending too much money on stuff that could be getting cheaper or better or getting better value. And there's a lot of solutions out there that are very focused on identifying savings or making sure that you have all the right checks and balances in place before you spend money. And that's all very important. We were very interested, I've always been very interested in more of the relationship level. Like, how do companies transact with each other? How do they decide to do business? And how do we facilitate that business? And so that's really our focus. There are tons of procurement solutions out there that would help companies make sure that an employee can buy a laptop. And if they're going to buy a laptop, that they're only spending up to the amount they're entitled to spend, and they're getting the right number of approvals from their manager and their manager's manager, and that they're getting the right price and all of this. But I'm more interested in the question of, how does that company decide that they want to buy their laptops from Lenovo versus from Dell, right? Because that's a big decision to make. And that's where I've always focused, like that level of relationship.
Interesting. So a follow-up question I have
Yep.
for you is broad zooming out. What are the most common challenges enterprise sales teams face?
Depends on the year, but I think right now, most enterprise sales teams are struggling with building pipeline, and they're struggling with velocity. It used to basically, company budgets have really dried up a lot over the past couple of years for a few very good reasons. Biggest of which is the world is still adjusting to higher interest rates. Money used to be very cheap. Companies were spending left and right. They were willing to try things. They'd try a new piece of software, try a new provider or something. Didn't work out, was okay. A lot of that kind of spending has dried up. And enterprise sellers are struggling to get in front of the right people at the right time who actually want to buy, who have a real need. And there's a huge industry being built up right now to try and expand those go-to-market efforts and get them in front of the right people. But look, to plug myself a little bit, they also need help because they are so overwhelmed with prospecting, with trying to cultivate relationships, that when buyers present them with these massive questionnaires they've got to complete, they need help doing that because there's only so many hours in the day. That's where we come into the picture.
Talk about the area of AI. How are you approaching AI and how are you utilizing it in your company?
Yeah, so we're an AI first platform. Like I said, I had some ideas a long time ago, but the tooling just really, it felt very much like science fiction, what we wanted to do. And then in a post chat GPT world, there's lots of things that seemed like science fiction a few years ago and are now just we take for granted. And the biggest thing is you can really develop a machines can develop a good understanding of text and kind of turn unstructured data into structured data very easily. And that is like the core of what our system does. So we, at a fundamental level, we take all the content that a company has, right? And we build a semantic understanding of that using AI and the conversion of words into mathematical representations. And then when a new series of questions come in from buyers, we use AI to access that content library that we've already pre-processed with AI to develop a good understanding of, complete the questionnaire with AI, and then let them collaborate internally to put the human touch on things.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see how companies are using, because I'm in the creator, the
Mhm.
influencer space. And so but you're in the B2B SaaS. And
Mhm.
another question is, what are the latest trends in procurement technology?
Look, everything is AI, right? You cannot be in software without being an AI company. If you're a software company, you are an AI company. Just it is what it is. AI is touching everything. Look, you talked about it, right? It's like the influencer space, B2C, B2B, government software, like whatever it is, everything is AI is touching everything because it is that transformational, right? Now people are still figuring out how to use it to its best and highest worth. In the procurement space, in the sales space, like on both sides, I think the biggest trend, the biggest impact is what I'd mentioned, unstructured data to structured data. That is the biggest impact of the latest AI tools, right? You have all of this wealth of information that's valuable to both buyers and sellers, right? Think about all the meetings we have now over Zoom or any kind of video platform that are recorded, right? And that was not the case like 5-6 years ago, right? All of that information is valuable content to both buyer and seller, but it's so overwhelming that you need AI to process it and turn that into useful structured data that each side can draw insights from. And that's the biggest impact, right? Taking that wealth of unstructured information, turning it into structured data, which then creates actionable insights. That's the big transformation.
Yeah. And if someone was wanting to connect with you and learn more about Venderful or FastBreak, how would they reach out to you and connect with you and learn more from you?
Easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. Just look for Peter Bonney or FastBreak. I'm there. I'm active. Yeah, the since I'm in the B2B space, I'm not super active on Instagram or anything like that. Just find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, awesome. Really interesting work. And I know a lot of the audience listening got a lot of value and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.